There's other things that we can do at an individual level. Now, the foundation isn't interested in saying what people should do for sort of individual growth, but we're interested in the sum total of lots of individuals doing various things and the effect that has on the overall population. So another area which is proving to be very useful is mindfulness, and you could find out more about this at the UK Mental Health Foundation's website. They're doing some really interesting work around this. But this is a really it's ancient, as it says there, but it's coming back. As Judy was mentioning, some of the older wisdom, we need to find ways to make that relevant again. And mindfulness is it's proving to be very effective in terms of not only treating illness, but also building up resilience and positive mental health as well. And has no negative side effects as yet known. Yeah, so that's an area that you'll see development in, I think, soon, and we would like to develop. And in between the top-down and the bottom-up approaches, there's the communities, developing the potential of our communities. And I'm thinking of things like time banks, for instance, which Karen's involved in down in Littleton. There's a great website which sort of epitomises this in a way. I don't know if many of you know about this, but it's worth a look, called the Bank of Real Solutions. It was actually on the radio on Sunday morning and the weekend. But just that lists a whole lot of community activities which communities are just getting together and doing essentially really good health promotion work, and including in that mental health promotion. So we've got some great mental health promoters out in the community who don't even know that they are that, but they're doing it. And we know from the research we've been looking into that they're doing all the right things just intuitively and positively because they've got this intention to have better health in their communities. So, in summary, these are the kind of benefits we could expect to see from a more mentally healthy New Zealand or a flourishing Aotearoa. Better psychological and emotional resilience overall, more sustainable happiness and well-being, improved inclusiveness, physical health, because as you all know, there's quite a strong relationship between the state of our mental health and our physical health. More creativity, promoting openness and a search for even more human strengths and how we can apply those at a societal level. It makes mental health something that we all can talk about as owning, rather than it to do with somebody over there, and particularly somebody over there as a problem for them. So we can have this dialogue together that whatever our mental health status is, it's relevant, and it's relevant to understand and build on and share and talk about and think of as a shared experience with others as well. And that will, I would predict that would help in reducing the stigma of mental illness when it's a more total experience. But for people who do experience mental illness, there's a lot in the flourishing flourishing which is really links to what recovery is all about as well. Be great to have some more positive approaches to life which counteract our sort of mainstream negative media bias. And as I said before, the good news is that this really doesn't cost a lot of money. Maybe a little bit to do some research and to hold some events, but this isn't about services. We're not talking about a scarce resource. Flourishing is already abundant. It's just thinking about what are the barriers that we've allowed to put in place so that we can all flourish and, I guess I should say, be radiant. So on that note, I think I'll pause for, because we've got a few minutes for questions, I think. Karen, is that right?
Indeed. Both Hugh and Judy's presentation made me think of another quote. I'm just a veritable fountain of them. From Alvin Toffler, author of Future Shock. He wrote way back last century, he said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." Questions? I'm travelling.
Hi, my name's Pauline Brown. I'm from Palmerston. I'm just wondering, you talked about mainstream negative media, and I'm wondering, you know, how, I know myself, I've stopped reading the newspaper because everything's so negative, and you'd think that
me too.
our young people are nothing more than glue sniffing, boy racing, drug taking, when in actual fact there's lots of things happening in our community with young people that's absolutely fantastic. And I'm just wondering how we can counteract what happens in the media. I mean, what power have we got to perhaps change some of the things? For instance, you know, the content of television is mainly murder and mayhem, really. So, I mean, what can we do to is there anything we can do to change that? Is it worth looking at that way?
Well, stopping using the media, I think, sends a powerful message, because they are profit-motivated businesses a lot of the time. But the thing is to create an alternative, I think, and there are good alternatives out there to support. I think the Scoop website is quite good. But it's interesting thinking, or one of the ways to think about this is that we know kind of what junk food is now for our physical bodies, but maybe it's about doing things like identifying what the junk food is for the mind. So we moderate. There's nothing wrong with eating junk food occasionally. We all do it, but it's kind of thinking about how do we moderate that. So because there is evidence to show that if we constantly expose ourselves to negative, fear-inducing kind of news, then it starts to change our neural pathways and can change the way how we think generally. But as I said, we've only got time to do a once over lightly, but that's a great discussion. Maybe this afternoon we could extend that out.
Hello, Prudence Stone. In New Zealand, we have something called the tall poppy syndrome. And when you talk about radiance, I see you eye to eye. I like to radiate myself. But often I find that the first impression I am giving, or that other people are making of me, is wrapped up in that tall poppy syndrome. Now, what do you have to say about interrupting that everyday culture we have in New Zealand?
That would be a great discussion point for this afternoon. I mean, I have a view on it, but yeah, we could, I think, I mean, one of the things personally I'd like us to explore around mental health in future is the extent of that fear has on us every day. Now fear is a very useful thing, and was especially useful for us when we were still in Africa and living on the savannah and had to deal with much greater dangers. But fear is now kind of very pervasive and quite psychological, and I think it's behind a lot of the barriers that we put up, because we're sort of subconsciously trying to protect ourselves. That's kind of a very simple response to a very complicated issue. But we have been looking into the research and around that kind of area. I think it's a great question, and one we should keep on asking. I mean, maybe one of the more important things we can do around creating this demand is actually ask a whole lot of questions and put them out there and say, well, why are we behaving like this or that when it's not helpful? And get the spirit of inquiry from a broader base than just ourselves. Thanks.